the agenda for today, we're going to be talking about Project Workspaces, which is a new feature that we released on apostrophecms.com. New tools for creating projects with Apostrophe, for upgrading them to get access to Apostrophe Pro, and a new way that kind of unlocks a lot more stuff that we can do that we're really excited about. So I'm going to be kind of going through some slides and share my screen in a second, talking a little bit about the background behind Project Workspaces. And Tom's going to share a little bit about how we built Project Workspaces, some cool technical notes in there, and then a little bit about what's next. And because this is very early for us, and we're excited to get feedback and really keep pushing this thing forward, because it's just really just the earliest stages with that. All right, okay, and if we do this, all right. So I wanted to kind of. The reason, I would guess, quick introduction for myself. Like, who's this Linguini dude speaking to me from Discord here, right? So for folks that haven't chatted with me before, my name is Alex. I am the CEO and co-founder at Apostrophe Technologies. And so, thrilled with, all the great stuff that the team is doing in Discord. Bob is an incredible, obviously, resource for the community. And does awesome work in terms of recording videos and leading some of these sessions. But once we started this regular show and tell, we knew that over time we probably want to mix up, have different speakers, have different folks presenting things. And when it came time for us to kind of do a little session on the Workspaces feature, because some of the background on this is really kind of about our evolving business, it seemed like a good place for me to kind of take the microphone and share a little bit about why we built this thing, kind of what it means for us as a company, and then and hopefully use that as a launching off point to get feedback from the team or from the community. And then again, Tom is here. Tom's CTO and chief architect of the Apostrophe platform. So there's nobody who knows more about the inner workings of Apostrophe than Tom, and it was played a huge role in how we architected this new feature. So excited to have him join me and share a little bit of background on that as well. So that's kind of our team for today. And I'll just shout out in the chat as well. We have Stuart Romanek hanging, and he might pop up on stage if there's any questions. But if you saw any of our launch day kind of videos that we shared out, Stuart was kind of driving around and giving some little quick video tours of some of the way that the new platform works. And so shout out to the whole team really in helping us to achieve this. I'm glad a few of those people can be here and kind of share this with you guys. So for today, what I wanted to kind of do was start out with like a little bit of background on Apostrophe as a business, and kind of how we got to where we are today. And it really starts out with the origins of the platform and the business just starting as an open source project. So the history of Apostrophe, going all the way back to its earliest iterations, was it was originally built in the late 2000s as an open source project within the Symfony framework in PHP. And so those were days when several of the folks that are here with you today were working together just in a digital agency, focused on delivering solutions in the client services context. We worked with a lot of higher education institutions, different kinds of nonprofits, different companies around the Philadelphia area and sort of Northeast US kind of region. And our focus at the time was delivering, great digital products, digital solutions to our clients that were kind of rooted in, really informed by what are the tools that we can use to do our very best work, and how can we give our clients the tools to do their best work as marketers and content creators and things like that. So that was the earliest origins of Apostrophe, was us realizing we're not happy with any of the available open source platforms on the market for achieving this, and we're going to go out there and start building our own stuff. And I think it's a pathway that you've seen other people take. It's a common pathway to kind of get into creating, I think, software like this. And that was the original inspiration for us. And so when we think about the business model, in the beginning, it was just an open source project. Actually, in the beginning, it was, Tom, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it was like track and subversion or something totally insane like that, which is hard to wrap your head around even now. But yeah, so the origins of Apostrophe were very much us creating open source to do better work for our clients. And over time, we saw that there was enough growth and success with the project itself that we started to find opportunities in commercial partnerships with other businesses, other teams out there in the world that were finding Apostrophe, finding it fit their needs in the same way that it fit our needs, and then looking for ways to collaborate with us and get support from us. And so thinking about the business of Apostrophe, how did we get to where we are today? It started with just pure like services and support agreements, support engagements, just for helping other teams find success with Apostrophe as an open source tool. And so that was the origins of the business. And I think this informs kind of the path that we've taken to get where we were today. There was never, in those early days, there wasn't the, okay, how can we create like a one-click, install so that people can immediately upgrade to our commercial, solutions. It was like, we're trying to just put this out there as open source and then see what happens, just so that we can, and I have a whole blog post on this about kind of the origins and why we work with open source and how it's really in our DNA, and it's the way we really follow as a discipline to create the best possible software. It's how we think we can do our best work. And so I think, enough people were finding alignment in that spirit and value in just the user interface and the developer experience of the platform that we started to see, okay, there is something bigger here potentially than just the services work that we're doing for our digital agency clients. And so let's see what we can do with this. Let's lean into that. Let's figure this out. This is an exciting, thing to explore that's different from the business that we've been running for the last 15 years. And so that led us to explore spinning Apostrophe out into its own standalone software company and thinking about what are the real commercial solutions that can grow and sustain Apostrophe as a software business rather than just an open source project that we tend to on the side when we're not working for our clients. So that's kind of the background that gets us through 2017, through 2019, when we spin Apostrophe out. And at that point, Apostrophe Assembly was was really our flagship commercial product. So folks might be aware, Apostrophe Assembly is our multi-site offering, which is a great way to scale Apostrophe across many websites, whether it's for sites for your own organization or sites for your customers or clients. And so we were working with a few enterprise partners at the time that needed many websites running in a single instance of the CMS. And we saw that this was a great opportunity for us to provide a unique solution that extended the capabilities of our open source platform and created a commercial offering for us to grow the business and build a business around. So that was sort of the earliest days of Apostrophe as a business. Moving through 2020 into 21 to 22, things like that, our focus really became around upgrading and creating Apostrophe 3. So Apostrophe 3, for those who were on that journey with us, may remember it was a big evolution of the user interface. We rebuilt the whole UI with Vue.js powering the admin experience. It became a much smoother user interface, faster to manage your content, get around and do things in the CMS. And it was also a major evolution, not a full kind of a complete change, but like a major evolution in the developer experience, really refining and smoothing a lot of the rough edges of the developer experience from Apostrophe 2 and how you can extend and configure the platform for your own unique needs. And also really leaning into more of a headless architecture so that every interaction with the CMS you can take with the REST APIs that Apostrophe 3 is built on top of. So that was the focus on A3, a huge evolution in the quality of the platform, but also an opportunity for us to continue to refine the commercialization of that platform and kind of make sure we're building a sustainable business model to keep iterating on things. And so that kind of takes us through 2022 with the kind of adding more and more extensions to Apostrophe 3. And where we had a very intentional strategy over some of these extensions, provide advanced features that are specifically add unique value for managing content for a business or at scale, And so these things would be made available as part of our Apostrophe assembly license throughout the period of 2021 and going into 2022. So last year, we responded to kind of needs that we were seeing with our customers and our community to release Apostrophe Pro. So this was the direct feedback for folks that we were speaking with that say, hey, we want all of these great advanced features that are not available in your open source offering, but we don't need multi-site. Multi-site is overkill for our specific project, for our specific needs. Really just need advanced permissions, or maybe the document version history, or just some of the things like that. So Apostrophe Pro was conceived as the solution, and at the time, so at Apostrophe Pro, you can go into our extensions page and you can filter, our extensions for what's available in Apostrophe Pro versus Apostrophe Assembly. But at the time, we considered, hey, do we want to go with more of like an a la carte, business model here, where certain extensions are sold, for separate prices, and if you just want advanced permissions, you can just purchase that. If you just want document version history, you can just purchase that. I think there's a lot of opportunity with that. That seems like it could be certainly a great idea long term for us. But the purely the way that we went about doing business, because at this time, if you wanted to purchase our commercial solutions from us, you were contacting us through our contact form. You were engaging with me or our sales team to kind of to get your license, and there was a lot of still very manual kind of process with doing that. So we didn't have that manual process, didn't lend itself well to offering more of an a la carte delivery of certain extensions. So that's why Apostrophe Pro emerged as a good sort of bundle that was at a different tier than Apostrophe Assembly. So that's the background on Apostrophe Pro. And then just note on the other stuff that happened last year, we overhauled our hosting infrastructure. So we offer managed hosting. We have historically for several years around Apostrophe Assembly. So we overhauled our hosting infrastructure last year to make it a better fit for single non-multi-site projects. If you just have like an Apostrophe Pro project that you want to deploy to our cloud infrastructure, we have a really great solution for that now, in addition to the one that scales better for Apostrophe Assembly. And that was kind of what we were working on over the last year, all with the goal of leading up to where we are today with now having the ability for Project Workspaces. And so this is finally, for us, the opportunity to offer our commercial solutions, our commercial licenses, our hosting offering in a self-service way, where, like I said, over this entire time leading up until the release of Workspaces, if you wanted to get access or do any commercial kind of business with Apostrophe, you were filling out contact forms and talking to sales teams, and in a manual process that is totally great and appropriate, and we love doing and meeting people and kind of engaging with folks like that. But sometimes it takes this time intensive. It's not what people are looking to do. And if you just have a simple need for upgrading a single project to get access to some advanced features, and you don't want to have to go through all of that, it definitely, I think, has been a blocker for some people to be able to quickly do business with us. So that I wanted to take a second to give that history, and really leading up to today, not only does this make it possible, so I'm going to get into a demo of this, and we'll look at like, what does this do now? It lets you purchase Apostrophe Pro on your own. You can create a project, upgrade that. So this is a major step forward in how we can do business and how we can scale and grow through our commercial solutions. But it's also, it unlocks a lot of different ways that we can, I think, make solutions available in a more user-friendly way or developer-friendly way to the community, right? It opens up new ways. So now we have the potential to think about more of an a la carte extensions marketplace. It changes the way we can bill for things to be more nuanced based on usage and things like that, I think in a much better way than we have in the past. And so I think it unlocks new possibilities for how we can do business, but I think also new possibilities for if you're out there and you have a need with Apostrophe, like what you're able to get, how you're able to get value for your projects in partnership with our commercial offerings in a smoother way. So this is again something we've been driving towards for the last the seeds of this were planted I think over a year ago. We've been kind of slowly working towards that. So this is a big milestone for us to have completed this initial MVP, shipped out the version that exists now. But as I said, as I kind of shared out in various posts and things like that at the initial launch of this feature, this is very much just like the beginning of a next kind of era for how we can make Apostrophe available to the broader community and deliver great solutions to you guys. So super excited. There's so much work for us to do moving forward, but really excited about the possibilities of all of that and making that available. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to jump into more of like a live demo of kind of what is this thing, and then hand it over to Tom. So let's take a quick look. If I just go to Apostrophe CMS, now one of the things you can do is right up here in the top right, you can just simply sign in. If you don't have a workspace yet, if you click this button, it will take you through an account creation and workspace creation process. I already do have a workspace set up. Actually, I have multiple workspaces here, but I'm going to kind of pretend like, for example, maybe I just set up my Gilbert & Co. Workspace for my new digital agency that I'm creating and going to spin out of Apostrophe. Who knows? Maybe I'll go back to that business someday. Not likely, but anything's possible. So in this example, I now created my workspace. I've signed in. I'll note here that with this account, I was very intentional about signing in with GitHub. So that's one critical piece. Is this is a tool that is I think optimized for developers to be able to create an account with their GitHub credentials. And when you do that, it's going to make it possible for our platform to kind of help you get started more quickly by creating projects right in your GitHub organization. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and create my first project. So we'll call this like .com, right? So this is like our marketing website for our new family agency. Let's just do this. It's Project Gilbert & Co. We're going to use Starter Kit here. So as you guys maybe remember, Apostrophe has a whole library of starter kits, something we also launched last year, and something we are going to continue to grow. We've shipped these with in partnership with some of our agency partners. So you guys may remember the team from Hello Computer. Corlette is another great partner of ours based out of Bulgaria. Hello Computer shipped for us these the hospitality and marketing starter kits. So these give you guys a way to get started quickly with an initial project code base that scaffolds out some widgets, some pieces, some components. They're not designed to be the final product. They're designed to help you get started more quickly with a little bit of structure to then build and customize on your own. So in this case, I'm going to just choose the marketing starter kit, and we'll call this the Gilbert & Co. website. We're going to make this a private repository in my A Gilbert GitHub organization. So let's go ahead and create that. So now should be able to get into that repo. We got some great feedback from the community already that it would be great to have more of an immediate link off to the repository that was just created. So that's something that we actually have that we'll be shipping out, I think, in the next week or so, if not sooner. But here's what was just created by what I just did. So this project was just spun up, generated from the marketing starter kit. So you can kind of trace that back to its origins here. And now I have a code base that I can get going with in my repository that was generated here. So in practice, what I would be doing would be installing this in my local development environment, adding my custom configuration for all the different components of my project that I need. But at a certain point in this example, I might be saying, all right, I'm really ready for advanced permissions because I want to, my son's going to be working for me and I don't want to give him admin access to everything. So I better upgrade this to Apostrophe Pro. So this is the point at which we have, the process to add Apostrophe to your project used to be much more involved manual process, but now I can simply go in here, add Apostrophe Pro to my project, understand that there's going to be how this is going to be priced and billed to me. And then when I upgrade my project now, a couple of key things are going to happen. The most notable is going to be that there's some additional steps to install Apostrophe Pro into your project. When you have a project in your workspace with an upgrade on it, we now make available to you a specific NPM token. Right, Tom's going to get into a little bit more details on this, but all of the commercial modules are available in our own private NPM registry now. And so the NPM token and the instructions that you follow here in this place, they give you the access to retrieve and NPM install these modules that previously we had to go through like a manual process of giving you access to our NPM organization. So now this is all automatically set up for you. If you use this token, you will have access to the code. The other step that that I need to follow here now that I've upgraded is adding the project key to my project environment. So while I as a user have my own NPM token that lets me get access to install these modules, I also each project gets its own project key, which is then used for our licensing server to know that this is a valid Apostrophe Pro project and can continue to run as intended, and also gives us the ability to align the billing with the usage. So Apostrophe Pro is billed based on the number of people that can edit content in the website. And so as that number grows, that we can update the upcoming invoice for each project here based off of that. So the project key is the key piece that we're going to be able to use to get that information and to validate that it is a legitimate license and has access to continue to use these modules. So those are the two key pieces of the setup process. And then with this, once I followed these two steps, again, what would have been a manual process of talking to our support team and getting added to various NPM organizations and going through those steps, now you can do completely on your own. You can install these on your own, and then you put these same keys in whatever hosting environments you're using, so that you can continue everything will work in the deployment process. The last thing I'll mention is that we also have some light integration with our support portal. So if you have a project upgraded to Apostrophe Pro, then one of the values you have with that license is it includes a warranty for that, like, the software will work as intended. So if you're just using our open source software, obviously that's like an as is kind of situation. We try and help people out as much as we can in Discord and things like that. But if you are a paid pro license, then if something is broken with the software that we ship, you can submit a bug report. We will fix that for you and we'll continue to make sure that everything is handled under that warranty. So this kind of help desk access is for that kind of basic help. And then, as some folks know, we do offer additional levels of support. There's different kinds of developer training and code audits and all sorts of different ways we can collaborate with the different teams out there using Apostrophe. And so if you contact us for a premium support subscription, we can update your workspace with that, and you'll have a little bit more access here. Ultimately, all of this is going to take you to our support portal, which is managed through Zendesk and has been working pretty well for our customers on that front. So that's kind of where we are with this new platform today with Workspaces and how everything works to create and upgrade projects. I will pause here to give any immediate questions a chance in the chat. If folks want to hit me with anything, I'm happy to answer a couple of things. And then I know Tom wants to go through a few of the background on how this was built, how we used Apostrophe to actually create our own platform here, our own hosting platform as well. So some of the technical bits behind this I think are pretty cool. But let me pause and see if anybody has questions for me from the demo or any of the background that I shared so far. Hey, Tigris, welcome, man. Any questions for me?
Yes, hello, Alex.
Right.
We already know each other. I'm Alex from Spinning Function.
Hey,
And
yeah,
I would I would like to thank you for this great presentation. And to say that I'm really glad in my previous feedback you mentioned about the ideas I shared to you previously. And I'm really glad that soon it will be the really handy tool for each of us, as I said, as a qualified developer and as a newbie user.
Yep. Yeah, well, I know.
Will use this tool yet.
I know. When we spoke before about this, you were like, hey, let me know when hosting is ready, and we'll really get rocking and rolling here. So, I'll kind of not to jump ahead, but this is definitely the next big thing on our list. We're actively working on making this available. We have all the capabilities on the back end in the infrastructure side for hosting to work, but hooking that all up so you can create and manage it with the web user interface is the next step now that we have this platform available here. Cool, man. With that, thanks for popping in and for sharing the feedback. Appreciate that. All right, cool. I'll move you back to the audience, but don't hesitate with any other questions or comments. All right, Tom, hoping that you have a better sound coming through now. Take it away.
Yeah, hopefully. Can folks hear me?
Much better. Much better.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's a sensitivity setting buried in Discord.
All right, cool. So I know, in the interest of time, we got about maybe 15 minutes here. So why don't you go ahead and take, I'll control slides for you, and you can kind of give us some background in the next 10-15 minutes on how we built this thing.
Sure, yeah. So, of course, the question is, how did we build it? And I'm sure no one is completely shocked by the next slide. The apostrophe. So we internally, we called it our customer portal. They're developers too. I can use the internal name. We, of course, just because Workspaces. And we built this as an apostrophe project. You can see that short name setting. It's a big telltale right there after require apostrophe. So this was built as a single site apostrophe project, even though it does not contain, web pages in the obvious sense. It is a Vue 3 front end project communicating with API routes implemented in apostrophe. Apostrophe turns out to be really great middleware, as others have seen, for communicating with a variety of services. We built this on top of existing services. We're not massive, but we built this on top of GitHub APIs, as you saw. We built it on top of Stripe APIs for payment. We built it on top of HubSpot APIs, and we built it on top of Zendesk. So we have quite a few pieces here so that we can keep track of customers, so that we can communicate with customers, so that we can avoid reinventing the wheel. And each of these maps to an apostrophe module that's responsible for providing a bridge to that API. And apostrophe logins are used in a pretty normal way. That's the one piece here that isn't simply Vue 3 application code, is the apostrophe login system. And good old-fashioned sessions we're binding provide really safer security. When you try to do all of that login and credential stuff purely on the front end, it's very easy to make security mistakes that are much harder to make if the authentication is happening on the server side. So next slide. Yeah, so let's talk about the integration with GitHub. So the GitHub API is mapped through a module here that exports some apostrophe API routes. For those who haven't played with them, apostrophe API routes in apostrophe 3 are kind of a response to how fiddly and error-prone express routes are by themselves. You receive rec and res, and you have to remember to do something with res no matter what, even if there's exception. It doesn't automatically handle async and so on. If there's all kinds of things that can go wrong. So what apostrophe API routes give you that's so nice here, that each of these functions that we're invoking are async functions, but apostrophe by itself for free gives you things like, if one of those promises is rejected, that will be caught, and a reasonable error response will be given that is not revealing too much information, and so on. And that request doesn't just time out, etc. So it's helpful for building more secure and reliable APIs in JS. And in this case, the APIs you see here are all based around managing users, repos, organizations. And we're doing this in a way that should be reasonably future-proof when we set out to do more, spoiler alert, than just GitHub support. For instance, adding support for creating your repo within GitLab or within Bitbucket. Moving on from there, let's look at the GitHub API wrapper a little bit more closely. So here we want to get all of the GitHub repos that belong to a particular user. So we're just going to paginate through some OctoKit API calls. OctoKit is the official API wrapper from GitHub for Node.js. That saved us a lot of time. You don't want to just go to their REST API documentation, although it's not terrible. It is still great to have a wrapper that does most of it. You might notice in here a little magical function here, rec.withOctoKit, which you might ask, like, how does that work? How do I magically get an OctoKit associated with this user? We'll talk about that in it. One other notable thing here is at the end here, when we return the response, a new GitHub repo DTO. This is something that Greg on our team headed up. Whenever manipulating data that comes from these APIs or from Apostrophe in a situation where the user should not get everything or, have a lot of access, he followed a very consistent strategy of creating data transfer objects like this so that we have a really clearly defined interface of what properties are the user's business and which properties are not. And that's another thing that helps us to sleep at night and feel like we've done a good and, secure job with the project. So moving on. Yep. So that's the question. Where does OctoKit come from? So that's my segue to single sign-on. So as I think we alluded before, you can log in, you can create an account two ways. You can create an account with an email address because not everybody wants to log in with GitHub. Or you can create an account just by logging in via GitHub. So for that, we use our Passport Bridge module. This is an open source module, by the way. Passport Bridge allows you to connect Apostrophe to the widely used Node.js Passport module and the whole enormous forest of potential Passport backends that are out there for doing single sign-on with all kinds of popular services, not just GitHub, but Google or Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it this week, or GitLab or also, more corporate arrangements like SAML backends and so on. So moving on from there, though, is a problem that comes up. Once you've created an account using your email address and GitHub is not in the picture, what if you decide you want to create a repo with GitHub? So this is where we realized we needed a new feature in the Passport Bridge mod, which is support for secondary logins, situations where your account belongs to an email address, but you also want to associate your account with a GitHub account so that you can do things like creating a GitHub repository. So this is the flow that happens when you click this and come to the next slide. You'll see, we'll pass through 3 slides here. 1, 2, 3. You'll receive an email. That's because we want to make sure that the account that really owns this, the email address that really owns this account, has confirmed it for security reasons. We don't want someone to just associate it with a random GitHub because your desk was, unattended for 5 seconds. So moving on from there, the step you don't see here, because I was already logged into GitHub and had already approved this app, is you'd be sent to the GitHub site, to approve in the normal way, the traditional, hey, do you want to give this application access to your GitHub page does appear. And when you return, you are connected to GitHub. So you can see that your accounts have been linked together. So let's talk a little bit about how that works and how you can use it in your own applications. So the Passport Bridge module has a recently added feature called Request Connection. This is a method that you can call to connect a user who's already logged in with an additional secondary account. So I could pass a strategy name here. I could pass GitHub to, or GitHub in the case of the GitHub Passport strategy, and redirect myself back to the site after that connection has been made. Once that connection has been made, the Passport Bridge module lets us do a very neat trick here where, and this is just an example from that module's documentation, so you can access it yourself. For GitHub, for example, we want to get access to the access token that GitHub gave us. So to do that, we can use this with access token method. The beauty of this is that you don't have to worry about whether the access token has expired and needs to be refreshed. All of that happens for you automatically behind the scenes. If the token is too old, it'll get refreshed before your function is called. You get an access token that really works. And once that happens, you're able to make your OctoKit call or whatever you want to do with the service that you're talking to. Moving on. So this is where we got that pretty create OctoKit method you saw before, or with OctoKit rather. So the way this was put together is some Apostrophe middleware. In any Apostrophe module, you can add middleware just by having a middleware property, and that registers site-wide middleware that can be used anywhere. So I'm taking advantage of that to detect the case where we need access to that functionality, and then I just add a rec.with OctoKit method on the fly, so that we just have that much more convenience. I mean, could I have created an OctoKit every time? Sure, but this is one step more convenient at that many fewer bugs. Why don't we move on from there? So now we talked a bit about Apostrophe as a middleware layer, because I think that's one of the big stories here. There is another, or there are other stories that came out of this project, and one of those is Verdaccio. So Verdaccio is an open source private NPM registry. They call it a private proxy registry because you can use it as your only NPM registry, and there's a lot of performance benefits to that. But you can also use it as a public registry just for a particular name. That's what we are doing. We are in the process that I think I could add Apostrophe CMS Dash Pro here, but our private namespace of NPM modules will soon be entirely in our private Verdaccio registry, and all of our customers will soon be using that. In the near term, as folks who already have a pro license know, we're using NPM's private modules. Soon that will be entirely within our system, which will be easier for us, easier for you, just easier to. And the neat thing is that because it's open source and has an open architecture, and it's time for you to NPM install something, it can simply talk back to Apostrophe and say, hey, does this NPM token correspond with anything in Workspaces, or should I tell this person, hey, buzz off? And so we can make those decisions interactively between Apostrophe and Verdaccio. And moving on from there, we talk it in the other direction too. And this is one more Apostrophe feature that came in really handy in both the front and back end of this project. Some of you have probably used Apostrophe's dynamic choices feature before. This is when you have an ordinary select dropdown in your admin interface in your fields in Apostrophe, but the choices are not static. They're not hard-coded. They're dynamically determined on the fly. And to do that, you can, for choices, instead of giving an array, you can give the name of a method in the same module. And that method will get invoked on the fly to figure out what the choices are at the moment. And this is literally two back-to-back examples I found when I was looking to create the slide this morning. We do it in order to talk to Stripe and find out what products are available, for what product IDs are available. And so we can associate them with our products in our backend. Then we also use it to get the names of all the NPM packages that exist in our Verdaccio. And that allows us to say, okay, I'm going to associate all of these modules with Pro, and I'll associate these modules with Assembly, and so on. So it just shows the power and convenience. Moving on from there. So here's an example of that implementation really quick. I'll just talk about the Stripe one, really. You see, we're just calling a wrapper method we've already created to pull in the Stripe products. And we just map those to an array with labels and values. And that's really all you have to do. It can be an async function, so you can do all the API calls in the world. For the Verdaccio side, it's a little bit messier because we have to. NPM, by the way, does not have the pretty REST API we always look at. NPM has a goofy API, but we've ironed all of that out for you. So when you use our system, it's moving on. Yeah, so I just wanted to touch briefly on the front end. And now I was not one of the main front end developers on the project. Shout out to Greg and Tristan and Stuart, who did much of the listing on that. But some of the points we used, Vue 3, even though Apostrophe admin UI at the time was Vue 2, that's something you can do because, Apostrophe's admin build is very much separate for whatever it is that you're doing in the front end of your application. Incidentally, we dropped Apostrophe 4 yesterday, which sounds like a big deal, but it was really just to add Vue 3 for the admin UI. And because that's a small PC break for people with custom admin UI code, we bumped the major version So now Vue3 is used consistently both in our workspaces and in our admin interface. So some of the things worth mentioning here, we used Vue, of course. We used the Vue router because being able to bookmark or share a URL is just a more desirable pattern. And when you're doing a full page application, there's really no excuse for not doing that. And we used Pinia as a store because we just found it a bit nicer than Vuex overall, a bit more modern and less boilerplatey approach. In our work on the store, we learned some lessons like that. The main function of the so-called store in a front-end application would be to remember preferences and what the immediate state of the UI. Like, what am I doing at the moment? How deeply nested am I? And yet, if you can do it, if there's another logical way, like if the router can do it, if it's part of the URL, it should be there. If it's an actual, like, a preference of the user that should be saved in the user's account, it should be there. It should do as little as it needs to and just really act as a bridge between components so they're all on the same. So that, I think that just about covers what we had to say about the front end, except that I'm really happy with the way that came out with the team. And I think that's just about the end of what I have on the subject of how we built it.
Fabulous. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate all the detail that you're able to get into there. And I know I appreciate also folks that are hanging with us. I know we're coming up on the closing end of the hour. I had a couple of topics, or not topics, a couple of just brief slides, just like, hey, what's next? What are we excited to ship next now that we have this feature out? Before I hit those, any immediate questions for folks just on the technical topics that Tom shared, and we can also take some of that to other Discord channels after the show and tell as well. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. So since I don't see anything in the chat for that, and no one's raising their hands, no worries. Like I would, think the thing I would personally underscore here is, as far as how we built this, when we log in to manage Apostrophe Workspaces, we're logging into an Apostrophe backend, and so that's great I am now using Apostrophe as a user more than I have in a long time, because it's this new platform that is all configured and managed. All of the data that comes in is all stored in Apostrophe pieces and things like that. And so that's been really, really awesome for me personally to experience this as an end user, as well as a great kind of tools it gave our developers to be able to quickly get this up and running and build a maintainable backend platform for everything. So super thrilled about that. And hopefully some of these examples that Tom shared give folks an opportunity to see how they can build more advanced applications with Apostrophe, and in addition to a great platform for marketing content, it can be used in more complex ways for this type of platform as well. So hopefully that's some good examples of that. All right, so coming up next, we talked about this briefly, and this is hinted at in what's available in your project upgrades tab. But hosting for us, the first step here was to build the core infrastructure of this platform, make it possible to do business with us in this kind of self-service way. We don't really consider this thing like fully living up to its potential until you can actually deploy your project to our cloud infrastructure and get that set up easily through your project workspace. So this to us is this is why this is kind of called out in this way, and it's such an important thing. And if there's anybody that's obviously there's some folks even in the chat today are already running some sites in our cloud infrastructure. Like this exists, it works well. It's not hooked up in a self-service way yet. If you were interested in any early access to using our hosting platform, or kind of managing it as we work through the ways to kind of make that available in our workspaces here, please do reach out, and we would love to connect and kind of bring you into the fold for some feedback and being part of that process as we evolve the way that platform works. Apostrophe Assembly, as folks know, is another commercial solution that we offer. So just as you can upgrade a project and get access to the Pro modules through your workspace, soon you'll be able to do that for Apostrophe Assembly modules as well. We wanted to start with Apostrophe Pro because given the scale of that of that solution, and kind of it made more sense for somebody who might be just needing a quick upgrade for a project rather than a bigger commitment for something like a full multi-site installation. So that's why that's going to come later. And adding hosting and assembly, it gives us now the ability to start to really migrate any of our existing customers into this platform. So as we also shared, if you're already working with us now, if you're already using our commercial solutions now, our launch of this new Workspaces platform doesn't change any of the immediate ways that we're collaborating with our customers or making things available to them. But once we have like our full portfolio of offerings in Workspaces, then we can say, great, now you can kind of manage your NPM token in here. You can put your developer team in here. You can kind of manage your billing in here. For more of our customers where that's a good fit, we can make that transition. So that's going to be something to keep an eye out in the future as well. And then going all the way back to the earlier comments about Apostrophe Pro, why did we do like a Pro bundle as opposed to like, purchasing different modules on the fly, if you only need one versus the other? We are interested in creating a bigger kind of marketplace for not only our own commercial extensions, but if there are extensions that are being built by the community, we can make those available either as open source extensions. There's already a handful of those on our website now, which you can get access to. But also if there's somebody that says, hey, I built something really great that my team uses and I think would be of value to others for the right kind of cost, then we can discuss how we can make that available as its own upgrade, and create like a marketplace, which is something that we're super excited about, like this as a much more long-term kind of thing that we can evolve towards, and something we could not do without this kind of this self-service platform behind it. So that's some things to kind of keep an eye out for the future. Immediately, we're focused on hosting. We're at work on this already and excited to ship this out to folks. But I guess beyond that, my question to everyone, whether it's right now or for the future, we are interested in people's feedback. This, like I said, this is the earliest of the early MVP kind of stage release of this type of platform for us. So it's a perfect opportunity for feedback. Tell us how we can make it better, how we can make it work well for your agency, your team. Because we will absolutely listen to that feedback. We already, like I said, have one enhancement that was suggested to us from an agency developer that's in the queue for deployment later this week. So that's kind of really where I'll end it. Happy if I know we're kind of at the end of the hour here, so folks might be heading off to other things. If there's anybody that wants to hang for the next 5 minutes with any comments or feedback, that's awesome. And if not, we'll kind of wrap up shortly here. But I'm really grateful for the chance to kind of share this with everybody, for all the feedback that's come in so far. This is just again the early stages of a new kind of phase for what Apostrophe is doing. So yeah, thanks everybody, and happy to take any last minute questions here. All right, Alex coming back on stage to close us out. Welcome back. Yep.
Yes, I just wanted to ask one question. I wasn't on the beginning, and maybe I skipped this. Are we recording this meeting?
We did indeed. Yep. We will be sharing this out on our YouTube channel. So you can catch that and share it with some of your other teammates for sure.
Great. Can we pin our YouTube channel somewhere in Discord? Because I just now got the information about it, that it exists.
Yes.
Thanks.
We'll post that right in here. I'll post it in the chat here, and we'll make sure that folks are aware of as these become available. I think we can do more announcements about the when the recordings go up.
Yeah, thanks. That's all from my side.
Perfect. All right, awesome. Well, I think that's probably a good note to close out, given the time. So thanks again, everybody, and we'll look forward to chatting with folks throughout this. So yeah, have a great